Welcome to SchezzWho, your top spot for politics. My role in providing great political content requires your participatory role as a liker of this video, a commenter down below, and a subscriber to the SchezzWho channel. Now let's go now to what keeps the show running, like Mr. Farley Perkins over at the Farley Perkins Agency. He can help you out with insurance needs here in Hampton Roads. If you're in the mood for some sweet treats like ice cream or confections, ELG Sweet Boutique will help you out here in High Street in Portsmouth. So you want some good old-fashioned Southern food? Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express LLC will be the place for you to go. 4206 Portsmouth Boulevard and across from Regent University in Virginia Beach. A good friend, Mr. Seiko Varner, runs Positive Vibes Incorporated, and he helps you with credit fixes, tax resolutions, lending money, debt consolidation. He's also a great DJ if you're looking for entertainment purposes, and he created the Hampton Roads Green Book, which is a fascinating application here in Hampton Roads to help you find Black-owned businesses. Also look out for the Black Swan podcast, run by my awesome wife, Andrea Dixon Chesvener. Look out for all those great contents as they come to be. So, where does Texas's flooding hit you? Does it hit you in the head? Does it hit you in the heart? In so much as we try to shy away from politicking calamity, I can't but think this is a time for it. Politicking, religiousification, all of the greater meanings we're going to draw from this. I think we might all well throw it all on the table. And I don't mind starting with the religious. My personal stream of consciousness with God has always been, dare I say, contentious. But I'll begin with Virginia's governor. The second sentence in Glenn Youngkin's statement on Texas's flooding asked for everyone to pray for the missing children and adults. Pray for the rescue teams and first responders. Pray for the families who are grief-stricken. Pray for miracles. He also said Virginia stands with Texas as we'll continue to do whatever is necessary to come to their aid. Now remember that sentence for when I switch this from religion to that of politics, especially the part about a government doing whatever is necessary to come to aid, because I have a bone to pick with someone like him saying that. So hold that in the back of your mind. And to show you I am treating this with a bit of an air of bipartisanship, I'll point to Virginia Democratic governor candidate Abigail Spanberger. Her comment was this: "We're praying for those still missing, the families who lost their loved ones, and our brave first responders as they continue to navigate through this tragedy." Without the use of the word miracle, this is essentially a statement that ChatGPT shot back after you fed it Youngkin's statement first. It got a little deeper with Republican candidate for governor Winsome Earl Sears. Her comment on July 7th began like so: "Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Texas as they deal with the aftermath of these deadly floods. Let's join together at noon today to pray for Texans, those who lost everything, including loved ones. This is not about Republicans and Democrats, but about whosoever will, let them come." This is how I know it's deeper with Winsome Sears, this religious aspect, deeper than either Abigail Spanberger or Glenn Youngkin, because she's quoting Revelations 22:17. And no, I'm not saying this because I knew that verse beforehand. I looked what the Virginia governor candidate said up, and that verse is what came up. And to the best of my research, it signifies that the offer of God's grace is available to all who desire it. This is where my derision slips in. And I know, far be it from me, some 38-year-old white dude in Virginia who has politics as a hobby, who doesn't know scripture by heart, who gets heat from his family for not being religious, and on that matter, specifically not Christian religious, who has no job, and who also gets heat for that fact because it seems to many that this is a sign from God that I need to change my career vision or something. Yeah, that's kind of annoying to me. But as I recently had one of those discussions about me needing to change my spiritual worldview in order to make my job dreams come true, it came to me that didn't make sense. The first reason is that I am alive, as in, if God is making a message known to me specifically that this is surprising to me, why something as insignificant as me gets such divine special treatment. See, here I am struggling to be easily able to accept faith amongst so many around me who easily accept faith. God, such as the type of faith that would create, say, Camp Mystic. Founded in 1926, Camp Mystic is a Christian camp for girls to build themselves in fellowship, spirituality, and creating better friendship. Camp Mystic has a sprawling 725-acre campus right on the banks of the Guadalupe River in Texas. And on Friday morning, right on the 4th of July, the river swelled 27 feet in 45 minutes, sweeping away much of Camp Mystic, including over 27 young campers and counselors. In that aim, the aim of thinking on God's favor and spiritualism and prayer, I responded directly to Winsome Sears' post, the one where she called on a statewide prayer that is beyond Republicans and Democrats. I commented under the banner of the show SchezzWho that over 25 young girls and campers were killed by a biblically sized flood at a Christian camp. What prayers will be good here? What prayer was good by the campers the night before this? What prayer is good at all if innocent Christian girls and staff are killed by a godly whim? That pissed a couple of Republican commentators off, and they responded to my comment. But I was nonetheless serious. See, thoughts and prayers are a common refrain from something at the end of tragedy. In America, that's often after gun tragedy. And looking up the definition of prayer, prayer is a solemn request for help or an expression of thanks to God. So when prayers are applied to, say, a mass shooting which kills 20 in an elementary school, what's being done, thanks or requesting of help? Well, I don't think anyone is thanking a gunman for killing 20 people, so they're requesting help. And what is help if you walk into a classroom and find 20 dead kids from a gunman? The help isn't needed in that moment, save for maybe the help for your mind not collapsing into despair. Help was needed moments before, and a way to stop a gunman from murdering, but it didn't happen. When I provide my thoughts in the Thoughts and Prayers discussion, I could very much say help could be gun prohibition, significant gun legislation that reduces all the mass shootings which occur here in the United States. And I'm reminded of the stickers I see so often that guns save lives. So what gives me the most common comment I do under the SchezzWho banner on every new shooting news story I see that takes a life. Guns take lives. In any case, there is help that could be done for the shootings. It's prevention. But that's political. And what Republicans like to do is use thoughts and prayers as their refrain to stop someone like me from commenting on gun tragedy in the aim that doing so will cause political response and create gun control. To them, that's using a tragedy and making politics from it. Yeah, that's precisely what it is, politics. Because what else is using government for public good but politics? Man, oh man, can you imagine if gun control was implemented after Sandy Hook in 2012? Let's say that was the time politics won and gun control won out. Then you would have prevention going forward and things like Virginia Beach's mass shooting, or Chesapeake's, or Uvalde, or El Paso, or Buffalo, or Charleston. Would not have happened. But sadly, it didn't, because people who like guns and fear government like to say thoughts and prayers, so that gun control fizzles shortly after each and every gun calamity. It's just sad to me that we have to use prayers so much on human-caused death and destruction when we could instead use critical thinking and design policy. And it's moving me to this video to see so many use prayer as something we should all do because of these Texas floods. Texas, as we know, is pretty religious, especially Christian. And Camp Mystic is by publication quite Christian. They would be one to pray a lot, daily, including July 3rd. Can you imagine now a prayer by campers on the night of July 3rd? What do they pray to? Are you thinking of the "Now I lay me down to sleep" prayer, where many of those young campers prayed the Lord their soul to keep? And if they die before they wake, they pray the Lord their soul to take? They were asleep in their bunks, not a football field's distance from the Guadalupe River, and at 4 a.m. July 4th, the river rose 27 feet in less than an hour. We believe God to be all-powerful, right? And even based on capitalism and insurance, things like disasters are considered acts of God. And this disaster was created by God and inflicted death and destruction on a population which regularly prayed to God. And politicians want thoughts and prayers now? Why now? It won't stop the next natural disaster. Why pray on July 3rd? It didn't stop these floods. I want people to pray. I think people need it. I just don't want them, and by extension the officials that they elect to government office, to pray in substitute of tangible human action. There were indeed warning signs for this, and a lot of the damp air that fueled this system was related to a dissipated tropical storm which recently hit Mexico, called Barry. The issue, and this is when we swing to politics, is the general lack of respect so much in the government have for government spending in relation to the weather, or even more long-term painful thoughts, the climate. Yes, I'm going to blame Donald Trump here, so buckle up, MAGA. The buck stops there, after all, and he authorized DOGE. DOGE went after NOAA and its subsidiary, the National Weather Service. DOGE implemented staff and budget cuts at the NWS. The resulting staff shortages have been around for months, and they've been short-end staff that track climate and weather prognostication. The people who create forecasts are the ones NWS cuts have affected. Now here's the next level of this. Texas officials. They're blaming the NWS for not having sufficient appreciation for July 3rd and 4th rainfall potential. And what are Texas officials? They're Republican. And what do Republicans do in terms of thinking and spending on government infrastructure? They cut it, they slash it, and they then badmouth government services after they do so. Yes, the DOGE cuts played a role in fewer atmospheric soundings and it degraded forecast models. The cool part, with people who were still at the NWS, is that they're still good at what they do. NWS staffers still were able to get an impression for what was coming in by July 3rd. At around 1:18 in the afternoon, the National Weather Service in the hill country of Texas began giving flood watches. By late that evening, it was timely and placed well. There's additional information that's key here, improvements to radar and modeling that were in the pipeline for the National Weather Service. They're all set to be cut. The National Weather Service out of San Antonio, despite staffing issues and degraded models and a DOGE cut of 17.5% in upper air data, still got a watch and warning out timely. It's just that the warning was around 1:15 a.m. on July 4th, and the flash flood emergency for Kerr County came around 4 a.m. People, including those campers and their adult leaders, were largely asleep. The warning was there. It was unfortunately badly timed. Now, since humans don't cause weather events, I could say it was the fault of a deity which decided to place 15 inches of rain in a couple hours on a sleeping populace near a river, which only recently prayed to it. But I'd be repeating myself to have deity scorned right now. Could there have been better ways to dispense the warning, much like tornadoes with warning sirens? Sure, they have stuff like that. It's called Flash Flood Alley Warning System. A town near to Kerr County operates with it. It includes modern water level gauges connected to modern alarm systems for telecommunications and sirens. Kerr County had a chance to bid on it. It lost a grant bid for $1 million for the system in 2017. and then didn't follow through on investing on the new infrastructure themselves for fear of raising taxes. So even on the local level, we see that Republican way of thinking created an issue which ended up being deadly down the line. My suggestions here come down to this: don't rely on prayer. Texas Governor Gregory Abbott, on a press conference I saw Saturday, July 5th, said he's going to encourage prayer because he said prayer works. If I wanted to give an example specifically as to why prayer doesn't work, it's these Texas floods. If I wanted to give an example specifically as to why human action can be a cause for good, it's these Texas floods. Petty Officer Scott Ruskin's first mission as a U.S. Coast Guard rescue swimmer was this past weekend. See, Scott was an accountant, and he left that career to enlist in the U.S. Coast Guard. He finished swim school 6 months ago. He got the call to join Task Force 1 on Friday morning. He was left at Camp Mystic after his helicopter realized it could save additional folks further down the river without Scott on board, and they decided to strategically leave him behind at Camp Mystic. Scott saved over 150 young campers and counselors. When quoted, Scott Ruskin said, "He's just doing a job." And that's heartening because that's a wholesome way to just do your job, saving hundreds of lives through government's employment, as opposed to rounding hundreds up in a concentration camp, much like Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. They're just doing a job too, but theirs is for evil. Scott Ruskin, his job is for good. And that's my other suggestion from this video. You as a voter, and you all as voters, have to be hesitant to trust Republican governance because they will look at the National Weather Service and they will stare at it blankly and then say it's a waste. Then they will slash staffing and funding. On a smaller level, they will look at a flooding warning system, see dollar signs as too expensive because they fear taxes, and then not invest. It gets better, but not much better, with Democrats. I do want you to look at local and national Democrats to vote for, but realize they need to improve as well. Police reform died on the vine because Republicans were able to boil it down to 3 words: defund the police. Well, Republicans just cut the weather police and people are dead from the weather. We need better from Democrats than the word salads they typically produce, much like Leader Jeffries just said when he was on record saying, "I think we are going to have to figure out what happened. Why did it happen? And how do we prevent this type of tragedy from happening again?" And so the question of readiness is certainly something that Congress should be able to explore in a bipartisan way. No, Democrat leaders are poor communicators. Republicans defunded the weather police, all our early warning systems. People are dead now. Vote accordingly.